I was standing in the grocery store checkout line when my phone rang. My husband's name flashed on the screen. Tristan never called during deployment. Never. His voice came through like a knife cutting glass. "Where is Oliver?" I froze. "At school." "Why?" He screamed so loud the cashier looked up. "Get him now. Don't ask questions. Go." Hit like, subscribe for more betrayal stories, and comment your city or country. My hands were shaking so bad I dropped my wallet. The cashier said something, but I was already running. Tristan hung up. I called back 3 times. Nothing. My heart was pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears. Oliver's school was 15 minutes away. I made it in 8, running 2 red lights. When I pulled into the parking lot, I saw police cars. 3 of them. My stomach dropped. I jumped out and ran toward the front entrance. A police officer stopped me. "Ma'am, the school is on lockdown. You can't." "My son is in there," I screamed. "Oliver Hayes. 3rd grade. Mrs. Peterson's class. I need to get him." The officer's face changed. He grabbed his radio. "We have the mother here." Another officer came over, a woman with kind eyes but a serious face. She took my arm gently. "Mrs. Hayes, come with me." "What's happening? Where's my son?" She didn't answer. She led me inside to the principal's office. Principal Caldwell was standing there with 2 men in suits. "FBI." My legs almost gave out. "Where is Oliver?" One of the agents stepped forward. "Mrs. Hayes, I'm Agent Rodriguez. Your son is not in his classroom." The room spun. "What do you mean he's not?" 23 minutes ago, a woman dressed as a substitute teacher walked into Mrs. Peterson's class. She said she was taking Oliver to the nurse's office. Mrs. Peterson didn't question it because the woman had a school badge. Oliver never came back. I couldn't breathe. "Where is he?" "We're reviewing security footage now. We believe, find my son." I screamed. Agent Rodriguez nodded to his partner, who opened a laptop. "We have footage of the woman leaving through the side entrance with Oliver. She put him in a car and drove off. We ran the plates. And he hesitated. I wanted to hit him. The car is registered to Eliza Morgan." I stared at him. "That's my sister." The room went silent. Agent Rodriguez leaned forward. "Mrs. Hayes, when was the last time you spoke to your sister?" 2 days ago. She helped me pick out Oliver's birthday present. We had coffee. My voice cracked. "Why would she take him?" The principal spoke up. "Mrs. Hayes, your sister has been volunteering at the school for the past 3 weeks. She said she wanted to help out since you mentioned we were short-staffed." My blood went cold. I never said that. I barely talked to Eliza about school. "She's been here? Around Oliver?" "Yes. She even brought snacks for his class last week." I felt sick. The agent's phone rang. He answered, listened, and his jaw tightened. "We have a location. The car is parked at 428 Riverside Drive. We're sending units now." "That's her house," I whispered. "Mrs. Hayes, I need you to stay here. That's my son." "I'm coming." He didn't argue. We got into an unmarked car and sped across town. My phone rang. "Tristan." I answered. "They found him. Eliza took him. They're going to her house now." Tristan's voice was ice. "I'm landing in 2 hours. Don't let her out of your sight." "How did you know something was wrong?" "I'll explain everything when I get there. Just get Oliver. Please." The line went dead. We pulled up to Eliza's house. Police were already surrounding it. I jumped out before the car even stopped. Agent Rodriguez caught my arm. "Let us go in first." I watched them break down the door. 30 seconds later, an officer came out carrying Oliver. He was crying, but he was alive. I ran to him, grabbed him, held him so tight he gasped. "Mommy, I'm here, baby. I'm here." Behind me, 2 officers dragged Eliza out in handcuffs. She was crying, makeup running down her face. "Brooke, please, I can explain." I turned and looked at my sister, my own blood, who had just kidnapped my son. My voice came out calm and deadly. "Don't you ever say my name again." Eliza sobbed harder. "He made me do it. He said it was just for a few hours. He paid me $50,000. I needed the money, Brooke. I'm so sorry." Agent Rodriguez stepped between us. Who paid you? Eliza's face went pale. She looked at me, then at the agent. His name is Mason. Mason Keller. The name hit me like a punch to the chest. My ex-boyfriend from college. The man who couldn't accept that I moved on. The man who sent me flowers on my wedding day with a note that said, "You made the wrong choice." And now he had just used my own sister to destroy my family. They took us to the FBI field office downtown. Oliver sat on my lap in a small room with toys scattered on a table. He wasn't playing. He just stared at the wall. A child psychologist sat across from us, speaking softly, but Oliver wouldn't answer her questions. Agent Rodriguez came in. "Mrs. Hayes, we need to ask you about Mason Keller." I looked down at Oliver. The psychologist stood up. "Why don't we get Oliver some hot chocolate? Would you like that, sweetheart?" Oliver nodded slightly. She took his hand and let him out. The moment the door closed, I broke. Mason is my ex from college. We dated for 2 years. When I broke up with him, he didn't take it well. Didn't take it well. He showed up at my apartment crying, then angry, then begging. I had to get campus security involved. He finally stopped after graduation. I thought he moved on. Agent Rodriguez pulled out a file and slid photos across the table. Mason at a coffee shop. Mason outside Oliver's school. Mason sitting in a car across from my house. These were taken over the past 6 months. He's been watching you. My stomach turned. 6 months? How did I not see him? He's careful, but we have more. He showed me printed text messages between Mason and Eliza. I read them and felt like I was going to throw up. Mason, does she still talk about me? Eliza, no. She's happy with Tristan. Mason, that seal thinks he's better than me. I'll show him what happens when you take what's mine. Eliza, what do you want me to do? Mason, get close to the kid. Learn his routine. I'll pay you well. The messages went back 8 months. My sister had been planning this for 8 months. Agent Rodriguez watched my face. There's more. Keep reading. I scrolled down. My hands started shaking. Eliza, I feel bad about this. Oliver is just a kid. Mason, you said you needed money. Your business is failing. I'm offering you a way out. Eliza, 50,000. Mason, cash. Untraceable. All you have to do is pick him up from school and keep him at your house for 3 hours. That's it. No harm comes to him. Eliza, and then what? Mason, then Brooke realizes her perfect SEAL husband can't protect his own family. She'll see that Tristan is weak. She'll remember what she gave up when she left me. I threw the phone across the table. That psychopath thinks I'll come back to him after he kidnapped my son. Mrs. Hayes, we don't think this was about getting you back. We think this was about destroying your husband's career. Navy SEALs can lose their security clearance if their family becomes a liability. If Tristan is seen as unable to protect his own child, his career is over. The door opened. Tristan walked in. He was still wearing his tactical gear, face covered in dust and exhaustion. But his eyes burned with rage. He looked at Agent Rodriguez. Where is she? Interview room 2. But Mr. Hayes, Tristan was already walking. I followed him. Through a two-way mirror, I could see Eliza sitting at a metal table, hands cuffed, face buried in her arms. Tristan stared at her like she was a target. Agent Rodriguez came up behind us. We've been interrogating her for the past hour. She's cooperating. Good, Tristan said coldly. Because I want to know everything. An agent inside the room leaned forward. Eliza, tell us again how you met Mason Keller. Eliza lifted her head. Her eyes were red and swollen. I met him at a business expo a year ago. He was charming, successful. He asked me out for coffee, and I said yes. Did he know you were Brooke Hayes' sister? Eliza hesitated, then nodded. He asked about my family on the first date. I told him about Brooke. He seemed interested. He asked a lot of questions. I didn't think anything of it. I felt Tristan's hand tighten into a fist beside me. The agent continued. When did he ask you to help him? 3 months ago. My boutique was failing. I owed money to suppliers. Rent was overdue. I was desperate. Mason said he could help. He offered me money if I just got close to Oliver, learned his schedule, I swear I didn't know he was planning to take him. You're lying, Tristan said through the glass. Agent Rodriguez glanced at him, but didn't stop him. The agent inside pushed a paper forward. This is a text from you to Mason 2 weeks ago. Read it out loud. Eliza's face went pale. She read quietly. Are you sure Oliver won't get hurt? I can't live with that. And what did Mason reply? He said the kid would be fine. Just scared. That it would teach Brooke and her seal a lesson. Tristan turned and punched the wall. The sound echoed through the hallway. I grabbed his arm. Tristan, stop. He looked at me, and for the first time since I'd known him, I saw tears in his eyes. She used our son to hurt us. Your own sister. I didn't have words. Because he was right. My sister, the woman who held Oliver when he was born, who came to his birthday parties, who I trusted, had sold him out for $50,000. Agent Rodriguez stepped forward. Mr. Hayes, we're tracking Mason now. He used a burner phone to contact Eliza, but we traced his last known location to a motel outside the city. SWAT is moving in. Tristan wiped his face and straightened. I want to be there. You're emotionally compromised. You know the protocol. I don't care about protocol. That man tried to destroy my family. I want to see his face when you take him down. Agent Rodriguez studied him for a long moment, then nodded. Stay in the vehicle. You don't engage. Understood. Tristan didn't answer. He just walked toward the exit. I followed him. Tristan, wait. What about Oliver? He stopped and turned. His voice softened. Take him home. Lock the doors. My team will be outside watching the house. I'll be back before morning. What if Mason runs? Tristan's jaw tightened. He won't get far. I promise you that. He kissed my forehead and walked out into the night. I stood there watching him disappear, knowing that whatever happened next would change everything. Because this wasn't just about kidnapping anymore. This was war. I drove home with Oliver sleeping in the back seat. My hands wouldn't stop shaking on the steering wheel. 2 black SUVs followed us, Tristan's team providing security. When we pulled into the driveway, one of the SEALs, a man named Grant, got out and checked the house before letting us inside. All clear, ma'am. We'll be right outside if you need anything. I carried Oliver upstairs and laid him in his bed. He didn't wake up. The doctor said he'd given him something mild to help him sleep after the trauma. I sat on the edge of his bed and watched him breathe. My baby, my whole world, and my own sister had put him in danger. My phone buzzed. A text from Agent Rodriguez. Mason spotted at the motel. SWAT moving in now. I went downstairs and turned on the TV, but I couldn't focus. Every sound made me jump. Every shadow looked like someone lurking. I locked every door and window twice. At midnight, headlights flashed through the living room window. I grabbed the baseball bat Tristan kept by the door. The door opened. Tristan walked in, covered in dust and looking exhausted. I dropped the bat and ran to him. He held me tight. It's over. We got him. Tell me everything. We sat on the couch. Tristan rubbed his face. Mason was hiding in a motel room under a fake name. When SWAT breached, he tried to run out the back window. They tackled him in the parking lot. He's in custody now. Did he say anything? Tristan's jaw clenched. Yeah. He laughed. Said this was just the beginning. My blood went cold. What does that mean? The FBI tore apart his motel room. They found a laptop with files on 12 other military families. Names, addresses, kids' schools. Mason wasn't working alone, Brooke. He's part of something bigger. I couldn't breathe. 12 families. He's been targeting military spouses for over a year. Kidnappings, blackmail, threats. The FBI thinks he's working with a group that hates the military. They're trying to break us down from the inside. Destroy our families so we can't do our jobs. Why you? Why us? Tristan looked at me with pain in his eyes. Because 5 years ago, I was part of the team that took down a weapons smuggler named Victor Kane. Victor sold illegal guns to criminals and terrorists. We arrested him, and he went to prison. Mason worked for Victor as a contractor. The pieces started falling into place. So Mason blamed you for ruining his boss's empire? Exactly. When Mason found out I married his ex-girlfriend, He saw an opportunity. He could hurt me personally and professionally at the same time. I felt sick. And Eliza? She was an easy target. Her business was failing. She needed money. Mason probably watched her for months before making his move. He's a manipulator, Brooke. He finds people's weaknesses and exploits them. I stood up and paced. What happens now? The FBI is building a case. They're interviewing all 12 families Mason targeted. They found evidence of bank transfers, fake identities, surveillance equipment. Mason is going away for a long time. And Eliza? Tristan's face hardened. She made her choice. She endangered our son for money. I don't care if she's your sister. She's a criminal. Tears burn my eyes. I keep thinking about all the time she was here. All the time she held Oliver. Was she planning this the whole time? Probably. Mason is smart. He would have had her gain your trust first before making a move. My phone rang. Unknown number. I looked at Tristan. He nodded. I answered. Hello. A man's voice came through, cold and calm. Mrs. Hayes. My name is Victor Kane. I froze. Tristan's eyes went wide. He grabbed the phone and put it on speaker. This is Tristan Hayes. How did you get this number? Victor laughed. I have friends everywhere, Seal. Even in prison. I heard about what happened to your boy. Mason did good work. Tristan's fists clenched. Mason is in custody. Whatever plan you had is over. Is it? Because from where I'm sitting, you just made a lot of enemies. You see, Mason wasn't just my employee. He was family. And you took him down just like you took me down 5 years ago. That's a pattern, Hayes. You destroy people's lives and think there are no consequences. You were selling weapons to terrorists. You deserved prison. And you deserve to watch your family suffer. Oliver is safe for now. But how long can you protect him? A week? A month? A year? Eventually, you'll slip. And when you do, I'll be waiting. The line went dead. I stared at Tristan. He just threatened our son. Tristan immediately called Agent Rodriguez. Victor Kane just called my wife's phone and threatened my family. I need him in solitary confinement now. Agent Rodriguez's voice was tense. Victor Kane escaped prison 3 days ago. We've been trying to locate him. The room spun. I grabbed Tristan's arm. He's out? How is that possible? We don't know yet. But we have every agency looking for him. In the meantime, you need to go into protective custody. Tristan shook his head. I'm not hiding from this man. He wants me. He can come find me. But my family is off limits. Tristan, think about Oliver. I am thinking about Oliver. If we run, Victor will just wait us out. He's patient. I've seen his file. The only way to end this is to bring him in. Agent Rodriguez sighed. What are you proposing? Tristan looked at me, then back at the phone. Set a trap. Use me as bait. Victor wants revenge. Give him a chance to take it. But on our terms. I grabbed his arm. Tristan, no. You can't. He cupped my face. This is what I do, Brooke. I hunt bad guys. Victor Kane is just another target. But this time it's personal. And I won't stop until he's back in prison or dead. Agent Rodriguez was quiet for a moment. I'll talk to my superiors. But Hayes, if we do this, you follow our lead. No cowboy moves. Understood. Understood. The call ended. I looked at my husband, the man who had fought in wars, saved lives, and protected our country. Now he was fighting to protect us. What if something goes wrong? Tristan pulled me close. Nothing will go wrong. I promise. But as I held him, I couldn't shake the feeling that Victor Kane was already 3 steps ahead, and that this nightmare was just beginning. The next morning, I woke up to find Tristan's side of the bed empty. I walked downstairs and found him at the kitchen table, surrounded by files and photos. He didn't look up when I entered. How long have you been awake? Couple hours. Agent Rodriguez sent over Victor Kane's full file. I needed to see what we're dealing with. I poured coffee and sat across from him. The photos spread across the table showed a man in his 50s with cold gray eyes and a scar running down his left cheek. Tell me about him. Tristan leaned back and rubbed his tired eyes. Victor Kane was one of the most dangerous arms dealers in the world. He sold military-grade weapons to anyone who could pay. Cartels, terrorists, warlords. My team tracked him for 3 years before we finally caught him. What happened during the arrest? It was in Syria. We had intelligence that Victor was meeting with a terrorist cell to sell them surface-to-air missiles. If those missiles got into their hands, they could take down commercial airlines. We couldn't let that happen. I sipped my coffee, watching the pain on his face as he remembered. How did you catch him? We set up an ambush at the meeting location. But Victor had his own security, 12 armed men. The firefight lasted 20 minutes. We lost one of our guys that night. His name was Ryder. He was 26 years old, had a wife and a baby daughter back home. I reached across and touched his hand. I'm sorry. Victor didn't fire the shot that killed Ryder, but he gave the order. After we arrested him, he looked me in the eye and said he'd make me pay. I didn't believe him. I thought once he was in prison, it was over. How did he escape? Tristan pulled out another document. According to this report, 3 correctional officers helped him. They were on his payroll. Victor had been planning this escape for months. He paid those officers $50,000 each to look the other way while he walked out during a facility transfer. That's the same amount he paid Eliza. Exactly. Victor has deep pockets. He's been running his criminal empire from inside prison using burner phones and corrupt guards. The FBI estimates he's made over $10 million in the past 5 years behind bars. The front door opened. Grant, the SEAL from Tristan's team, walked in carrying bags of food. Morning. Figured you guys hadn't eaten. He set breakfast sandwiches on the table and looked at the files. You telling her everything? Tristan nodded. Grant sat down and looked at me seriously. Mrs. Hayes, there's something else you need to know. Victor Kane isn't just after revenge. He's planning something big. My stomach tightened. What do you mean? Grant pulled out his phone and showed me surveillance photos. We've been monitoring Victor's known associates. In the past 72 hours, 6 of them have traveled to this area. They're not here by coincidence. Tristan's jaw clenched. He's assembling a team. For what? I asked. We don't know yet. But the FBI intercepted a phone call yesterday between Victor and one of his lieutenants. Victor said, "The SEAL took everything from me. Now I'm going to take everything from him." He wasn't just talking about you and Oliver. He meant everything. I looked at Tristan. What else could he take? Tristan stood up and walked to the window. My career. My team. My reputation. Victor knows that if he can make me look weak or compromised, I'll lose my security clearance. Without that, I can't serve. I'll be dishonorably discharged. So this whole thing, Mason kidnapping Oliver, the threats, it's all to destroy your career? Not just my career. Victor wants to destroy Navy SEAL operations entirely. He hates us because we're the ones who stopped him. If he can prove that SEALs can't even protect their own families, it damages the entire program's credibility. Grant nodded. He's targeting other SEAL families too. We got word this morning that 2 other families received threatening letters. Same pattern, personal information, photos of their kids, warnings to watch their backs. I felt sick. How many families? So far? 8. But we think there are more. My phone rang. Unknown number again. Tristan immediately grabbed his phone to trace the call. I answered. Hello. Mrs. Hayes. It's Victor again. Did you sleep well? My hands shook. What do you want? I want your husband to understand pain. Real pain. The kind of pain I felt when he destroyed my life. Tell me, have you ever visited a prison, Mrs. Hayes? No. It's hell. Every single day is torture. You wake up in a cell the size of a closet. You eat food that tastes like cardboard. You're surrounded by violent criminals who would kill you for a pack of cigarettes. And you lose everything. Your freedom, your dignity, your future. That's what your husband did to me. You sold weapons to terrorists. You deserved prison. Victor laughed coldly. Maybe. But your husband also took something else from me. He took my son. I looked at Tristan, confused. He closed his eyes and nodded slowly. Victor continued. During the arrest in Syria, there was another firefight. My son, Blake, was with me that night. He was 19 years old. Your husband shot him in the chest. He died before the medics arrived. My heart stopped. Tristan never told me that. Of course he didn't. Because he's a coward who hides the truth. He killed my boy and never looked back. Now I'm going to make sure he feels that same loss. Oliver is a beautiful child, Mrs. Hayes. It would be such a tragedy if something happened to him. The line went dead. I stared at Tristan. You killed his son? Tristan's face was anguished. It was self-defense. Blake fired at us first. I returned fire. I didn't know he was Victor's son until after. Why didn't you tell me? Because I didn't want you to carry that burden. Every mission has casualties. I've made peace with it. But I never thought Victor would come after our family because of it. Grant stood up. We need to move you to a safe house. Now. Victor knows where you live. He's watching. If he gets the chance. An explosion rocked the house. The kitchen window shattered. Tristan tackled me to the ground as glass rained down. Grant drew his weapon and ran toward the door. Stay down. Through the smoke, I saw figures moving in the front yard. 4 men dressed in black tactical gear. They weren't FBI. They were Victor's team. Grant fired twice, hitting one of them. The man went down. The other 3 took cover behind the SUVs parked outside. Tristan dragged me toward the stairs. Get Oliver. Go to the basement. Lock the door. Don't come out until I say it's safe. Tristan, go. Now. I ran upstairs and grabbed Oliver from his bed. He was crying, terrified by the explosion. I carried him down to the basement and locked the heavy steel door Tristan had installed years ago for emergencies like this. We huddled in the corner while gunfire erupted upstairs. I held Oliver tight and whispered, It's okay, baby. Daddy's going to protect us. Everything is going to be okay. But as the gunfire continued, I wasn't sure I believed my own words. Victor Kane had brought war to our doorstep. And this time, I didn't know if we'd survive. The gunfire stopped. The silence was worse than the noise. I held Oliver against my chest, his small body shaking. Minutes felt like hours. Then I heard footsteps on the stairs. Heavy boots. My heart pounded so hard I thought it would burst. A knock on the basement door. Brooke, it's me. Open up. Tristan's voice. I unlocked the door with trembling hands. He stood there covered in dust and blood, but alive. Grant was behind him, holding his arm where a bullet had grazed him. We need to leave. More are coming. We ran to the garage. Tristan's truck was already running. He put Oliver in the back seat, and I climbed in beside him. Grant got in front. We tore out of the driveway, just as another vehicle pulled up. More of Victor's men. Where are we going? I asked. FBI safe house, 30 minutes north. Agent Rodriguez is meeting us there. The drive was silent except for Oliver's quiet crying. I stroked his hair and tried to stay calm, but my mind was racing. Victor had attacked our home in broad daylight. He wasn't hiding anymore. He wanted war. We pulled up to a small house surrounded by woods. FBI agents were everywhere. Agent Rodriguez met us at the door. Get inside. We've got security posted around the perimeter. Inside, the house was basic, just furniture and blank walls. Tristan sat Oliver down on the couch and turned to Agent Rodriguez. How did Victor find us? We're investigating. But I have worse news. We arrested Eliza's phone records and found something disturbing. He handed Tristan a tablet. I looked over his shoulder at the screen. Text messages between Eliza and someone labeled unknown contact. But these messages were different. They weren't about Oliver's kidnapping. They were about something else. Unknown contact. Is your sister alone this week? Eliza, yes. Tristan is on deployment. Unknown contact. Perfect. When does he return? Eliza, not for another month. The messages went back 6 months. My stomach turned. Who is she talking to? Agent Rodriguez looked uncomfortable. We traced the number. It belongs to a woman named Ivy Kane. Tristan's face went white. Victor's wife. Ex-wife. They divorced 2 years ago. But according to our intel, Ivy still has contact with Victor. And it looks like she's been using your sister to gather information about your family for months. I felt like the ground disappeared beneath me. Eliza was working with Victor's ex-wife. It gets worse. Ivy has been living under a fake identity just 3 miles from your house. She's been watching you this whole time. Tristan slammed his fist on the table. Where is she now? We don't know. She disappeared the same day Victor escaped. But we have reason to believe she's still in the area. I stood up, shaking. My sister betrayed us twice. Once for Mason and once for Ivy. Agent Rodriguez nodded grimly. Eliza didn't just help kidnap Oliver for money. She's been feeding information to Victor's operation for half a year. Your routines, Tristan's deployment schedule, Oliver's school activities. Everything. Tristan looked at me with pain in his eyes. Brooke, I'm sorry. I should have seen this coming. How could you? I'm the one who trusted Eliza. I let her into our lives. Grant spoke up from the corner. This isn't on either of you. Victor is a professional manipulator. He finds people's weaknesses and uses them. Eliza was vulnerable. He exploited that. Agent Rodriguez's phone rang. He answered, and his expression changed. When? Are you sure? He hung up. We've got a problem. Eliza just tried to commit suicide in her cell. My breath caught. Is she alive? Barely. She's at the hospital now under guard. But she left a note. She wants to talk to you, Brooke. Only you. Tristan immediately shook his head. Absolutely not. It could be a trap. We'll have agents everywhere. Victor won't get close. I looked at Tristan. If Eliza knows where Victor is hiding, we need that information. This could end everything. Tristan studied my face for a long moment, then nodded reluctantly. I'm coming with you. And we don't leave Oliver here alone. Agent Rodriguez agreed. We'll bring him. He'll stay in a secure room with agents while you talk to Eliza. An hour later, we walked into the hospital surrounded by FBI agents. Oliver was taken to a private room with 2 armed guards. Tristan and I followed Agent Rodriguez to Eliza's room. She looked terrible. Her wrists were bandaged and her face was pale. When she saw me, tears streamed down her cheeks. Brooke, I'm so sorry. I stood at the foot of her bed, numb. Sorry doesn't fix what you did. I know I destroyed everything. But I need you to understand. They threatened me. Ivy said if I didn't help them, they'd kill me. You still had a choice. You chose money and fear over your own nephew. Eliza sobbed harder. Victor has someone close to you. Someone you trust. They're going to strike again. Soon. Tristan stepped forward. Who? Eliza's eyes went wide with fear. I don't know their name. But Ivy mentioned someone on the inside. Someone who's been helping Victor all along. My blood went cold. Someone close to us. Someone we trusted. Agent Rodriguez immediately got on his phone, ordering background checks on everyone in our circle. But as I looked at Eliza, broken, desperate, destroyed by her own choices, I realized the worst part. The betrayal wasn't over. Victor had one more card to play, and we had no idea who the traitor was. We left the hospital with more questions than answers. Someone close to us was working for Victor. But who? Every person in our lives became a suspect. Tristan's team, our neighbors, even Agent Rodriguez. Anyone could be the traitor. Back at the safe house, Tristan gathered his SEAL team in the living room. Grant was there, along with 2 other men I'd met before, Colin and Hunter. They'd served with Tristan for years. I trusted them. But did I really know them? Tristan spread a map on the table. Victor's moving pieces into position. We counted 15 of his men in the area. They're preparing for something big. Colin leaned forward. What's the play? We use me as bait. Victor wants revenge. He wants to see me suffer. So we give him an opportunity. But on our terms. Grant shook his head. That's suicide. Victor won't come alone. I'm counting on it. We let him think he has the advantage. Then we take down his entire operation in one strike. Agent Rodriguez walked in holding his phone. We just got intel on Victor's location. He's holed up in an abandoned warehouse near the docks. It's heavily fortified. 6 guards outside, probably more inside. Tristan studied the map. That's where we set the trap. I go in alone. Make contact with Victor. While he's focused on me, your team surrounds the building and moves in. I grabbed his arm. Tristan, this is insane. If something goes wrong, nothing will go wrong. I've done this 100 times. Not with your own family as collateral. He cupped my face gently. That's exactly why it'll work. Victor thinks I'm emotional and compromised. He'll underestimate me. That's his mistake. Agent Rodriguez nodded slowly. It could work. But we need authorization from the top. This isn't a standard operation. Then get authorization. We move tonight. 3 hours later, everything was in motion. I sat with Oliver in a protected room while Tristan prepared. He put on his tactical vest and checked his weapons with methodical precision. Grant stood beside him doing the same. You sure about this? Grant asked quietly. Victor killed one of our brothers. He threatened my family. He's been terrorizing military families for years. This ends tonight. Grant nodded. We've got your back. Tristan came over and knelt beside Oliver. Hey, buddy. Daddy has to go to work for a little while. You stay here with Mom, okay? Oliver hugged him tight. Be careful, Daddy. Always am. Tristan kissed my forehead. If anything happens to me, don't say that. If anything happens, Agent Rodriguez has instructions. You and Oliver will be protected. There's money set aside. Documents in a safety deposit box. Everything you need. Tears burn my eyes. Come back to us. I will. I promise. He left with his team. I watched through the window as they drove away into the darkness. Agent Rodriguez stayed behind with 2 other agents to protect us. I held Oliver close and waited. An hour passed. Then 2. My phone buzzed. A text from Tristan. In position. Making contact now. Agent Rodriguez listened to his radio earpiece. Tristan just entered the warehouse. Victor's guards let him through. He's inside. Can you hear what's happening? Tristan's wearing a wire. We're monitoring everything. Through the radio, I heard Tristan's voice. Victor, I'm here. Let's talk. Victor's cold laugh came through. The famous Navy SEAL. You actually came alone. I'm impressed. You wanted me. Here I am. Let my family go. Your family? You mean the wife and son you couldn't protect? The sister-in-law who betrayed you? Face it, Hayes. You've already lost everything that mattered. Not everything. I still have my honor. Something you'll never understand. Honor. Victor's voice turned venomous. You killed my son. You took the only person I loved. Honor means nothing without family. Your son made his choice. He fired at us. I defended my team. He was 19 years old. He had his whole life ahead of him. And you took that away. There was silence. Then Tristan spoke quietly. I think about him every day, every mission, every time I come home to Oliver. I carry that weight. But you killed innocent people for profit. Your son died because you brought him into your criminal empire. Don't you dare blame me. Who else is there to blame? You made your son a target, just like you're making yourself a target right now. Suddenly, gunfire erupted through the radio. Agent Rodriguez jumped up. All units move in. Tristan's compromised. My heart stopped. Oliver started crying. I held him tight while chaos exploded through the speakers. Shouting. Gunshots. Explosions. I couldn't breathe. Then silence. Agent Rodriguez pressed his earpiece. Tristan, report. Tristan, do you copy? Nothing. All units, what's your status? Grant's voice came through, strained. We're inside. Multiple hostiles down. Searching for Tristan and Victor now. Minutes felt like hours. I paced the room, shaking. Oliver buried his face in my shoulder. Agent Rodriguez kept listening, his expression tense. Finally, Grant's voice returned. We found him. Tristan's alive. Repeat, Tristan is alive. I collapsed into a chair, sobbing with relief. Victor's in custody. Building secured. We're coming back. 2 hours later, Tristan walked through the door covered in blood and bruises, but alive. I ran to him, and he wrapped his arms around me. It's over. Victor's arrested. His entire operation is shut down. What happened in there? Victor tried to kill me, but his own men turned on him. Turns out several of them were undercover FBI agents who'd infiltrated his organization months ago. When the shooting started, they took down Victor's real guards and secured him. Agent Rodriguez smiled. We've been working this case for 2 years. Tonight we arrested Victor, 12 of his associates, and seized enough evidence to put them away for life. I looked at Tristan. And the traitor? The person close to us. Tristan's expression darkened. We found out who it was. My heart raced. Who was it? Tristan looked at Agent Rodriguez, who nodded. It was Principal Caldwell from Oliver's school. I felt like I'd been punched in the stomach. The principal? But he helped us. He called the police when Oliver was taken. That was the plan. Make himself look like a hero while feeding Victor information the whole time. Caldwell had gambling debts. Victor paid him $20,000 a month to monitor military families whose kids attended that school. Everything clicked into place. Caldwell knew Oliver's schedule. He knew when I picked him up, when Tristan was deployed. He had access to emergency contact information for every military family. How long was he working for Victor? 3 years. He helped Victor target 8 different families. Some were blackmailed. Others had their homes robbed while they were on base. One family's daughter was almost kidnapped, just like Oliver. I sat down, shaking. What happens to him now? He's been arrested, along with Victor, Eliza, Mason, Ivy, and 12 others. They're all facing federal charges. Over the next 3 months, the legal process moved forward. Eliza recovered from her suicide attempt and was transferred to a federal holding facility. Mason remained in custody without bail. Victor was held in maximum security with no contact to the outside world. The trial began on a cold Monday morning in February. The courthouse was packed with media, military families, and FBI agents. I sat in the front row holding Tristan's hand while Oliver stayed home with a trusted babysitter, one of Tristan's team members' wives who had been thoroughly vetted. The prosecutor stood and addressed the jury. Ladies and gentlemen, this case is about betrayal at the highest level. Victor Kane orchestrated a criminal conspiracy that targeted American military families. He used kidnapping, extortion, and violence to destroy the lives of men and women who serve our country. Over the next 2 weeks, the prosecution presented mountains of evidence. Bank records showing payments from Victor to Eliza, Mason, Caldwell, and others. Text messages detailing the kidnapping plot. Surveillance footage of Victor's men watching our house. Recorded phone calls where Victor threatened our family. When it was Eliza's turn to testify, I couldn't look at her. She walked to the witness stand in an orange jumpsuit, her face hollow and defeated. The prosecutor questioned her first. Miss Morgan, how did you meet Victor Kane? Through his ex-wife, Ivy. She approached me at a coffee shop about 18 months ago. Said she knew my sister was married to a Navy SEAL. She seemed friendly. We met a few more times. Then she introduced me to Victor. And what did Victor want from you? Eliza's voice cracked. Information about my sister's family. Their routines, when Tristan was home, where Oliver went to school. At first I didn't think anything was wrong. He said he was writing a book about military families. When did you realize it wasn't for a book? When he offered me $50,000 to help Mason kidnap Oliver. I knew then it was wrong. But my business was failing. I was desperate. I convinced myself Oliver wouldn't get hurt. That it would just be for a few hours. Did you ever consider calling the police? Eliza looked at me with tears streaming down her face. Every single day? But Victor said if I told anyone, he'd kill me and my sister both. I was scared. The defense attorney cross-examined her, trying to paint her as a victim manipulated by Victor. But the prosecution had evidence showing Eliza knew exactly what she was doing. Texts where she joked about the kidnapping. Bank records showing she'd already spent the money on a new car and designer clothes. When Mason testified, he showed no remorse. I loved Brooke. Tristan stole her from me. Everything I did was to get her back. The prosecutor cut him off. You kidnapped a 7-year-old child. How was that supposed to make his mother love you? Mason's face twisted with anger. I wanted Tristan to know what it feels like to lose something precious. He ruined my career. He testified against Victor, which got me blacklisted from every military contractor job. He took everything from me. So you decided to take his son? I decided to teach him a lesson. The jury looked disgusted. Victor's testimony was even worse. He sat in the witness chair with cold, dead eyes and spoke without emotion. My son died because of Tristan Hayes. I spent 5 years in prison planning my revenge. Every day, I thought about how to make him suffer the way I suffered. So you escaped prison and organized a criminal conspiracy? I did what any father would do. I sought justice for my boy. By threatening to murder a child, I never intended to kill the boy. Just scare him. Make Hayes understand that his family wasn't safe. That he'd failed as a protector. The prosecutor leaned forward. Mr. Kane, you ordered your men to attack the Hayes home with automatic weapons while a child was inside. How is that not attempted murder? Victor smiled coldly. Collateral damage. The courtroom erupted. The judge banged his gavel. Tristan's hand tightened around mine, so hard it hurt. I wanted to scream at Victor, to tell him he was a monster. But I stayed silent. The evidence would speak louder than anything I could say. On the final day, both sides gave closing arguments. The defense tried to claim Victor was mentally unstable due to grief over his son's death. That Eliza was coerced and manipulated. That Mason was obsessed and not thinking clearly. The prosecution destroyed those arguments. These defendants made conscious choices to harm innocent people. They planned, coordinated, and executed a criminal conspiracy that put children's lives at risk. They don't deserve sympathy. They deserve justice. The jury deliberated for 6 hours. When they returned, the verdict was unanimous. Victor Kane, guilty on all counts. Eliza Morgan, guilty on all counts. Mason Keller, guilty on all counts. Principal Caldwell, guilty on all counts. The sentencing came 2 weeks later. Victor received 45 years in federal prison with no possibility of parole. Mason got 30 years. Caldwell got 15 years. And Eliza got 20 years. As the judge read Eliza's sentence, she turned to look at me one final time. Her mouth formed the words, "I'm sorry." But I turned away. Some betrayals can never be forgiven. 3 weeks after the sentencing, I received a letter in the mail. No return address. Just my name written in shaky handwriting. I almost threw it away, but something made me open it. Dear Brooke, there's something you need to know. Something the FBI didn't tell you. Meet me at Parker's Diner on 5th Street tomorrow at noon. Come alone. This is about Oliver's safety. A friend. I showed the letter to Tristan. His jaw tightened. It could be a trap. Or it could be important. What if there's more to this that we don't know? Agent Rodriguez had the letter analyzed. No fingerprints. Generic paper from any office supply store. Impossible to trace. After hours of discussion, they decided to let me go, but with FBI surveillance everywhere. The next day, I walked into Parker's Diner at exactly noon. The place was half empty. I sat in a booth by the window where FBI agents in unmarked cars could see me. 5 minutes passed. Then 10. I was about to leave when a woman slid into the booth across from me. She was in her 60s with tired eyes and graying hair. Thank you for coming. Who are you? My name is Natalie. I was Victor Kane's accountant for 20 years. My breath caught. You worked for him? I didn't know what he really did at first. He told me he ran import-export businesses. By the time I realized he was a criminal, I was in too deep. He had dirt on me. Tax fraud I'd committed years ago. He used it to keep me loyal. Why are you here? Natalie pulled out a flash drive and slid it across the table. Because I'm dying. Cancer. 6 months left. I don't want to die with this weight on my conscience. What's on that drive will answer questions you didn't even know to ask. What kind of questions? About why Victor really targeted your family. It wasn't just about revenge for his son. There's more. She stood up. Don't trust everyone around you. Even now, there are people who work for Victor still in positions of power. People who haven't been caught yet. Wait, who? Tell me names. But Natalie was already walking out. 2 FBI agents followed her, but by the time they reached the parking lot, she'd vanished. I clutched the flash drive and texted Agent Rodriguez. Back at the safe house, a FBI tech specialist examined the drive. It's clean. No viruses. Just files. Lots of them. We gathered around the laptop as the files opened. Bank records, emails, photos, and a video file labeled The Truth. Agent Rodriguez clicked it. Victor's face appeared on screen. He was sitting in what looked like a prison cell, recording on a smuggled phone. If you're watching this, It means I've been arrested or killed. But before I go, I want Hayes to know the full story. Tristan leaned forward, his fists clenched. Victor continued. My son Blake didn't die in Syria because he fired first. He died because Hayes executed him. Blake was wounded, disarmed, on the ground. Hayes walked up and put 2 bullets in his chest. I watched it happen through binoculars from my position. Hayes murdered my boy in cold blood. My stomach dropped. I looked at Tristan. His face had gone completely white. That's a lie. Victor's voice kept going. Hayes covered it up. His team backed his story. They said Blake fired first. They planted a weapon on his body. But I know the truth. And that's why I swore to destroy Hayes' life the same way he destroyed mine. The video ended. The room was silent. Agent Rodriguez looked at Tristan. Is any of that true? Tristan stood up, shaking. Blake was armed. He fired at my team. I returned fire. Everything happened in seconds. There was no execution. Victor claims to have proof. He's a liar trying to justify his crimes. But I saw doubt in Agent Rodriguez's eyes. And doubt in Grant's eyes. Even Colin and Hunter exchanged glances. My heart sank. Were they questioning Tristan? After everything he'd done? Grant spoke carefully. Tristan, we need to be sure. If Victor has evidence that contradicts the official report, it could reopen the investigation. Your career could be at risk. Tristan's eyes blazed. You think I murdered an unarmed kid? You think I'm capable of that? We're just saying we need to verify. Verify what? Victor's word? The man who kidnapped my son and tried to kill my family? That's who you believe now. Agent Rodriguez held up his hands. Nobody's accusing you of anything. But we have to follow protocol. There will be an internal investigation. Until it's complete, you're suspended from active duty. Tristan looked betrayed. You're suspending me? It's standard procedure. Just until we clear this up. Tristan walked out of the room. I followed him outside where he stood staring at the dark sky. Tristan, talk to me. Victor just destroyed my career from prison. Even dead or locked up, he wins. We'll fight this. The truth will come out. Will it? Or will doubt always follow me now? Every mission, every decision I make, people will wonder if I'm a murderer. I grabbed his face and made him look at me. I know who you are. You're a good man. You protect people. You saved our son. I believe you. His eyes filled with tears. What if that's not enough? Over the next 2 weeks, military investigators reviewed the Syria mission. They interviewed every member of Tristan's team. They analyzed ballistics reports and reviewed body camera footage. The tension was unbearable. Tristan barely slept. He wouldn't eat. He just sat staring at walls. Then Agent Rodriguez came to the house with news. We've completed the investigation. Victor's claims were false. Relief flooded through me. Tristan looked up. What did you find? Body camera footage from 3 different angles shows Blake firing at your team. You returned fire in self-defense. There was no execution. Victor lied to justify his revenge plot. Then why did he claim to have proof? Because he wanted to plant doubt. To hurt you one last time. We also found evidence that Victor edited video footage to make it look like Blake was unarmed. That's what he planned to release publicly to destroy your reputation. But our forensic team proved it was fake. Tristan exhaled like a huge weight lifted off him. So I'm cleared. Completely. You'll be reinstated to active duty with full honors. The Navy is also issuing a formal commendation for your actions in stopping Victor's operation. For the first time in weeks, Tristan smiled. Grant, Colin, and Hunter came over and apologized for doubting him. We should have known better. You're the most honorable man we know. Tristan shook their hands. You were doing your job. No hard feelings. But I knew the damage was done. Victor had planted seeds of doubt that would take time to fully erase. Even now, some people would always wonder if the official story was true. That's what betrayal does. It doesn't just hurt you in the moment. It leaves scars that never fully heal. 6 months passed. Life slowly returned to normal, or at least a new version of normal. Oliver started seeing a child therapist twice a week. At first, he had nightmares every night, waking up screaming that bad people were coming to take him. But gradually, the nightmares faded. Tristan went back to work, though he requested desk duty instead of deployments. "I need to be home right now," he told his commander. "My family needs me." I started attending a support group for military spouses who'd experienced trauma. Sitting in that circle of women who understood what I'd been through helped more than I expected. We shared stories, cried together, and slowly healed. But trust remained broken. Every stranger who looked at Oliver too long made my heart race. Every phone call from an unknown number sent panic through me. Every time Tristan left the house, I worried he wouldn't come back. One evening, Agent Rodriguez called. "I have news. Natalie, the woman who gave you the flash drive, passed away yesterday. But before she died, she gave a full confession to the FBI about her role in Victor's organization." "What did she say?" "She admitted to helping Victor hide millions of dollars in offshore accounts. Money he made from weapons trafficking. The FBI is seizing those accounts now. That money will be distributed to the families Victor hurt, including yours. I don't want his blood money." "Then donate it. Use it to help other military families. Turn something evil into something good." That's exactly what we did. With the money from Victor's seized accounts, Tristan and I started a foundation called Shield Families. It provided security training, counseling, and financial support to military families who'd been targeted by criminals. Within a year, we'd helped 30 families. Within 2 years, over 100. The work gave purpose to our pain. It turned our nightmare into something meaningful. Oliver thrived. He made friends at his new school. He joined the soccer team. He laughed again. Sometimes I'd watch him play and tears would fill my eyes remembering how close we came to losing him. Eliza sent letters from prison. I never opened them. She'd made her choice. There was no going back. My mother called occasionally, begging me to forgive Eliza, to visit her. "She's your sister. Family is family. Family doesn't kidnap children for money," I said. She stopped being my sister the day she chose Victor's cash over Oliver's safety. My mother cried, but I didn't budge. Some betrayals are unforgivable. Mason died in prison that year. Another inmate stabbed him during a fight over cigarettes. I felt nothing when I heard. No satisfaction, no sadness. Just emptiness. Victor remained in maximum security. Occasionally his name appeared in the news when his appeals were denied. Each time, I'd feel a small surge of relief. He'd never hurt another family again. Principal Caldwell served 5 years before being released on parole. He moved to another state and worked at a warehouse loading trucks. His teaching license was permanently revoked. His reputation destroyed. His comfortable life gone forever. One afternoon, Grant stopped by the house. He and Tristan sat on the back porch drinking beer while Oliver played in the yard. "How are you doing, brother?" Grant asked. Tristan watched Oliver kick his soccer ball. "Better. Some days are harder than others. But we're healing. You ever think about going back to active deployment?" "Sometimes. I miss the work, the missions. But I can't leave Brooke and Oliver right now. Maybe in a few years when things are more settled." Grant nodded. "You did good, Tristan. You protected your family. You took down a major criminal operation. You're a hero." "I don't feel like a hero. I feel like a father who almost lost his son because of enemies I made doing my job." "That's not your fault. Victor made his choices. You were just doing your duty." Tristan didn't respond. I knew he still carried guilt. Still wondered if there was something he could have done differently to prevent everything that happened. That night, after Oliver went to bed, Tristan and I sat on the couch together. He held my hand. "I'm sorry I brought this danger into our lives. Stop apologizing. You're a Navy SEAL. Danger is part of the job. I knew that when I married you. But our son shouldn't have to pay the price for my career." I turned to face him. "Oliver is safe. We're all safe. Victor and his people are in prison. It's over. Is it? Or are there more enemies out there waiting for the right moment?" I didn't have an answer. The truth was, there probably were more threats. More people Tristan had arrested or testified against. More criminals who wanted revenge. That was the reality of being married to a man who hunted monsters. But we couldn't live in fear forever. We had to trust that the precautions we'd taken, The security system, the new school with proper vetting, the self-defense training I'd started, would be enough. We're going to be okay, I said. We survived the worst. We can survive anything now. Tristan kissed my forehead. I love you. I don't say it enough. I love you too. We sat in comfortable silence, holding each other while the house settled around us. Tomorrow would bring new challenges. But tonight, we had peace. And that was enough. 2 years after the trial, life felt almost normal. Oliver was 10 now, thriving in 5th grade, and rarely talked about what happened. The nightmares had stopped. The fear in his eyes was gone. He was just a regular kid who loved soccer, video games, and complaining about homework. Tristan had returned to active duty 6 months ago. Not full deployments yet, but training missions and short assignments. He needed to feel useful again, to remember who he was beyond just a father and husband. I ran the Shield Families Foundation full-time now. We'd helped over 200 families and expanded to 3 states. The work was exhausting but fulfilling. Turning our pain into something that helped others gave meaning to everything we'd endured. One Saturday afternoon, I was in the kitchen making lunch when the doorbell rang. Oliver was at a friend's house. Tristan was at the gym. I checked the security camera. A woman in her 70s stood on the porch holding flowers. I opened the door cautiously. "Can I help you?" The woman's eyes filled with tears. "Mrs. Hayes? My name is Dorothy Kane. I'm Victor's mother." My breath caught. Every instinct screamed to slam the door. But something in her face, the grief, the exhaustion, made me hesitate. "What do you want?" "Just 5 minutes of your time. Please." I drove 8 hours to see you. Against my better judgment, I let her in. We sat in the living room, the flowers on the coffee table between us. Dorothy looked at me with sad, tired eyes. "I came to apologize for my son. Your son tried to kill my family. I know, and I'm so deeply sorry. Victor was not the boy I raised. When his son Blake died, something broke inside him. He became consumed by revenge. I tried to reach him, to help him, but he wouldn't listen. Why are you telling me this?" "Because I need you to know that not everyone in his family is evil. I love Blake too. His death destroyed me. But what Victor did, kidnapping your son, terrorizing your family, that was unforgivable. I wanted you to hear that from someone who shares his blood." I studied her face. She looked genuine. "Broken. Did you know what he was planning?" "Not until after he escaped. When I found out, I contacted the FBI immediately. I told them everything I knew about his associates, his hiding places. I helped them track him down. Agent Rodriguez had never mentioned that." "You helped catch him?" "Yes, because what he did was wrong. Family doesn't excuse evil. I had to choose between protecting my son and protecting innocent children. I chose the children." Tears slipped down my cheeks. "Thank you for that." Dorothy reached across and squeezed my hand. "How is your boy?" "He's okay. It took time, but he's healing. I'm glad. Children are resilient. They can recover from things we adults never could." We sat in silence for a moment. Then Dorothy stood. "I won't take any more of your time. I just needed you to know that I'm sorry. And that if there's ever anything I can do to help, anything at all, please don't hesitate to ask." I walked her to the door. "Dorothy, why did Victor really do all this? Was it just about Blake?" She turned, her face full of pain. "No. Victor blamed Tristan for ruining his empire, for putting him in prison. Blake's death just gave him justification. But the truth is, Victor was always a man who took what he wanted without caring who he hurt. I should have stopped him years ago. That guilt is mine to carry." After she left, I sat on the couch processing everything. Victor's own mother had turned against him, had helped bring him down. Not all betrayals came from enemies. Sometimes they came from the people who loved you most, when they realized you'd become a monster. That evening, Tristan came home sweaty from the gym. I told him about Dorothy's visit. His jaw tightened. She shouldn't have come here. She needed to apologize. And she helped the FBI catch Victor. Rodriguez never told us that. Because we didn't need to know. Victor is locked up. That's all that matters. Tristan, she lost her grandson and her son. She's suffering too. He softened. "I know. but I can't feel sympathy for anyone connected to the man who tried to destroy us. I understood. Some wounds were too deep for forgiveness. A week later, Agent Rodriguez called with surprising news. Victor Kane was found dead in his cell this morning. My heart skipped. How? Another inmate. Guy serving life for murdering his wife and kids. Apparently, Victor bragged about targeting children, and that inmate decided to deliver his own justice. Is that going to cause problems for us? No. It's being handled as an internal prison matter. The inmate will face additional charges, but Victor's case is closed. He'll never threaten anyone again. After hanging up, I felt strangely empty. No relief. No satisfaction. Just exhaustion. Victor was gone, but the damage he caused would last forever. I called Dorothy to tell her. She cried quietly on the phone. Thank you for letting me know. Despite everything, he was still my son. I'm sorry for your loss. And I'm sorry for yours. The innocence your family lost because of him. That night, Tristan and I told Oliver that the bad man from 2 years ago was gone. Oliver looked up from his homework. Does that mean we're safe now? Tristan knelt beside him. You've always been safe, buddy. Mom and I have always protected you. But yeah, that particular bad guy can't hurt anyone anymore. Oliver nodded and went back to his homework like it was no big deal. Kids were resilient. They moved on faster than adults. Maybe that was a blessing. Later, lying in bed, Tristan held me close. It's really over now. Is it? Or are there more enemies out there we don't know about? Maybe. But we can't live in fear. We take precautions, stay alert, and live our lives. That's all we can do. He was right. Victor was dead. Mason was dead. Eliza was in prison. The nightmare was over. Now came the hard part, learning to live without constantly looking over our shoulders. Learning to trust again. Learning to believe that good things could happen without waiting for the next disaster. It would take time, but we had time now. And we had each other. That was enough. 5 years had passed since that terrifying phone call changed our lives forever. Oliver was 15 now, tall and confident, playing varsity soccer at his high school. The scared 7-year-old who'd been kidnapped was just a distant memory. Tristan had been promoted to senior instructor at the Naval Special Warfare Center. He trained the next generation of SEALs while staying close to home. No more overseas deployments. No more months away from family. He'd found balance. The Shield family's foundation had grown beyond anything I'd imagined. We'd helped over 500 military families across 12 states. We provided security training, therapy resources, financial assistance, and a network of support. Our annual fundraising gala raised millions. But more importantly, we'd built a community. Families who understood what it meant to live with the constant threat that came with military service. People who didn't judge the hypervigilance, the security measures, the occasional panic attacks when unknown numbers called. One evening, I stood in Oliver's doorway watching him do homework. He looked up. Mom, you're doing that thing again. What thing? Staring at me like you're making sure I'm real. I smiled. Can you blame me? He set down his pencil. Mom, I'm okay. I know what happened was scary, but I barely remember it now. You and Dad protected me. You kept me safe. You still do. Tears filled my eyes. You're so much braver than I was at your age. I learned from the best. He stood and hugged me. I love you, Mom. I love you too, baby. Later that night, Tristan and I sat on the back porch under the stars. He held my hand. Remember when we first met? You asked me if being with a SEAL was dangerous. And you said the most dangerous thing was falling in love with you. He laughed. I had no idea how true that would be. Would you change anything? If you could go back. Tristan thought for a long moment. No, because everything we went through made us who we are today. It brought us closer. It taught us what really matters. And it gave us the chance to help hundreds of other families. Victor tried to destroy us. But he failed. We're still here. Still strong. Still together. That's the ultimate revenge. Living well despite everything he did. I leaned my head on his shoulder. Do you ever think about Eliza? Sometimes. Mostly I feel sad for her. She threw away everything for money. She'll spend 20 years in prison knowing she betrayed the people who loved her most. My mother still asks me to visit her. Will you? I don't know. Part of me wants closure, but another part thinks some doors should stay closed. Tristan kissed my forehead. Whatever you decide, I support you. We sat in comfortable silence, watching fireflies dance in the darkness. Life wasn't perfect. We still had hard days. Oliver still occasionally had nightmares. I still checked locks 3 times before bed. Tristan still carried guilt about the enemies he'd made. But we were healing, moving forward, building a future where the past didn't define us. The doorbell rang. At 9 at night. My heart jumped. Old instincts kicked in. Tristan was already moving toward the door, checking the security camera first. He relaxed and opened it. Grant stood there holding a pizza box and grinning. Figured you guys could use some company. And carbs. We laughed and let him in. Grant had become more than a teammate. He was family. He joined us every week for dinner, helped Oliver with homework, and kept Tristan grounded when the memories got too heavy. That night, the 3 of us adults sat around the kitchen table eating pizza and sharing stories while Oliver watched TV in the next room. Normal. Simple. Beautiful. This was what Victor couldn't destroy. The bonds we'd built. The love we shared. The strength we'd found in each other. Before Grant left, he hugged me. You 2 are the strongest people I know. You survived something that would have broken most families. Oliver is lucky to have you as parents. After he left, I looked at Tristan. We really did survive, didn't we? We did more than survive. We won. That night, I tucked Oliver into bed, even though he was too old for it. He indulged me. Mom, can I ask you something? Anything. Do you ever get scared that something bad will happen again? I thought about lying, telling him everything was fine. But Oliver deserved honesty. Sometimes. But being scared doesn't mean being weak. It means caring about the people you love. Your dad and I will always protect you. And we've taught you how to protect yourself. That's all we can do. I know. And I'm not scared anymore. Because I know no matter what happens, we face it together. I kissed his forehead. When did you get so wise? Probably around the time I survived being kidnapped and watched my parents take down a criminal empire. He grinned. I laughed through tears. Good night, baby. Good night, Mom. Walking back downstairs, I thought about everything we'd been through. The betrayal, the fear, the pain, but also the courage, the love, the healing. Victor Kane had tried to break us. Instead, he made us stronger. As I curled up next to Tristan in bed, I realized something important. We'd spent years being victims of someone else's revenge. Now we were survivors writing our own story. And that story had a happy ending.